Just so we're clear, this is a dramatized fictional story. It's inspired by Arissa LeBrock's real-life background in modeling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and pro wrestling. The character Jason Cole and the fight scene are completely fictional, created to tell a story about what happens when you seriously underestimate your opponent. This black belt is about to make the biggest mistake of his life, but it's not what you think. What happens when pure arrogance picks a fight with a lifetime of secret training? This guy thought he was about to humiliate a random woman to prove how tough he was. He had no idea he was messing with Steven Seagal's daughter. In the world of local martial arts, reputation is everything. And at the Warrior's Path dojo, that reputation belonged to one man, Jason Cole. Jason wasn't just a black belt. He was the owner, the head instructor, and the self-proclaimed king of his little kingdom. The man was undeniably skilled, with lightning-fast kicks and a physique that screamed thousands of hours of training. But all that talent was buried under a mountain of deep, corrosive arrogance. To Jason, martial arts was a pecking order, and he was always at the top. He saw kindness as weakness and openly sneered at different fighting styles. His dojo was known for its aggressive, almost bullying atmosphere. Newcomers were sized up, and anyone who didn't buy into his high-flying, kick-heavy style was mocked. He had a special kind of hatred for grapplers, calling their art ground-hugging and unrefined. For Jason, skill wasn't about quiet competence. It was about loud, public displays of dominance. The annual cross-discipline exhibition was his favorite stage. The event was supposed to be about community, a friendly showcase for local dojos. But for Jason, it was a hunting ground. It was his chance to prove, year after year, that his way was the only way. He'd scan the participants, looking for someone he could make an example of, someone he could easily dismantle in front of a crowd. This year, his eyes landed on a new participant, someone he'd never seen before, and someone he assumed was completely out of her depth. He saw an easy target, a perfect prop for his next ego trip. He couldn't have been more wrong. Across the gym, far from all the noise, was Arissa LeBrock. To anyone just glancing over, she didn't look like a typical martial artist, at least not Jason Cole's version of one. She was known in other circles for a successful modeling career that championed body positivity and for being featured in publications like Plus Model magazine. She'd even been on the Lifetime show Growing Up Supermodel. Of course, she was also the daughter of two absolute titans, action hero Steven Seagal and supermodel Kelly LeBrock. But a famous last name can be both a blessing and a curse. Growing up, Arissa was determined to carve out her own path. When people said, "You're Steven Seagal's daughter," she'd fire back, "No, I'm me." This drive pushed her to walk a tougher road, one built on her own discipline and sweat. While the world saw the glamorous model, very few knew about the grit she was building in private. She had fallen in love with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It was the polar opposite of Jason Cole's world. There was no flash, no performance, just leverage, pressure, and pure technique. The mat is a place of humility, where ego gets stripped away and only skill is left. For Arissa, it wasn't about fighting. It was a physical chess match that required intelligence and resilience. This was her passion, something she pursued for herself, even competing in tournaments far from the public eye. This same quiet determination would later lead her to a WWE tryout, a debilitating injury, and a hard-fought comeback to graduate from the prestigious Rhodes Wrestling Academy in 2023. But today, at this local exhibition, she was just another participant. Her demeanor was quiet, observant, and respectful. She was there to learn and share her art. And it was this quiet confidence that Jason Cole mistook for weakness. He saw a model and a famous daughter and decided she was the perfect person to make an example of. Jason Cole strutted through the exhibition hall like he owned the place. After a flashy board-breaking demo, he soaked in the applause from his students. Now, it was time for his favorite part of the day, the invitational spar. This was his chance to hand-pick an opponent and demonstrate why his style was superior. His eyes scanned the room, dismissing a karate practitioner and a judoka before they locked on to Arissa. He saw everything he needed to spin his story. A pretty face, a famous family. He figured she was just there for a photo op. Perfect. He swaggered over, a smirk on his face. "Well, well," he began, his voice loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Look what we have here. Arissa LeBrock. Didn't take you for a martial artist, or are you just here to show support?" A few of his students snickered. Arissa looked up, totally unfazed. "I'm here to participate," she said calmly. That smirk on Jason's face grew wider. "Participate? That's cute. You know, a lot of people don't get the difference between real martial arts and, rolling around on the floor. How about you and I give the crowd a little demonstration? A light spar. I can show you what real power looks like." The invitation was dripping with condescension. It wasn't an offer. It was a public challenge designed to humiliate her. The tension in the air got thick. Other instructors shot each other uneasy looks. They knew Jason's reputation. Arissa was being put on the spot, set up to be embarrassed. For a second, she hesitated. She hadn't come here to feed some local champ's ego, but backing down would look like fear and prove him right. With a slow nod, she stood up. "Okay," she said, her voice steady. "A light spar." She wasn't taking his bait. She was just refusing to back down. The crowd stepped back, forming a circle. Jason winked at his students as if to say, "Get ready for the show." The space cleared, and the crowd's chatter dropped to a nervous silence. Jason Cole bounced on his feet, putting on a show for everyone. He cracked his neck, shook out his arms, and dropped into an over-the-top fighting stance. Across from him, Arissa was a picture of calm, her posture balanced and ready. She wasn't matching his aggressive energy. She was centered, waiting. Jason made the first move. A fast, snapping jab-cross combo meant to intimidate. Arissa simply parried the punches, deflecting the force with almost no effort as her feet carried her just out of range. Annoyed that she hadn't even flinched, Jason turned it up. He unleashed a flurry of flashy spinning kicks, each one whistling through the air where her head had been just a moment before. He was faster, sure, but she was way more efficient. She wasn't trying to fight fire with fire. She was just letting him burn himself out, punching and kicking at empty space. You could see the frustration starting to build in Jason's face. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She was supposed to be cowering by now. He decided to end it. With a loud yell, he lunged forward, throwing everything he had into a powerful roundhouse kick aimed right at her ribs. This was the mistake she was waiting for. As the kick flew toward her, Arissa didn't back away. She moved in. In one fluid motion, a beautiful blend of Aikido and Jiu-Jitsu, she stepped inside the kick's arc. One hand deflected his leg, shattering his balance, while the other grabbed his uniform. For the split second that Jason was airborne and helpless, she used his own momentum against him. With a simple pivot of her hips, she executed a flawless takedown. Jason hit the mat with a loud thud that echoed through the now silent gym. The crowd gasped. Before he could even figure out what happened, Arissa was on him. There was no fumbling, no hesitation. Her movements were precise, methodical. She transitioned from the takedown straight into a dominant side control position. Jason thrashed, trying to use his brute strength to throw her off, but it was useless. She moved like water, flowing around his struggle and tightening her control. In just a few seconds, she took his back and sunk in her hooks. Jason's eyes went wide with panic as he felt her arm slide under his chin. He knew what was coming. She locked in a rear naked choke, applying steady, inescapable pressure. He had nowhere to go. He couldn't strike, he couldn't spin, he couldn't escape. He was completely and utterly beaten. For a few humiliating seconds, his ego fought a battle it couldn't win. Then, with a frantic slapping sound, he tapped her arm 3 times, the universal sign of surrender. Arissa immediately released the choke. The sound of Jason's tapping was followed by a moment of stunned silence, and then the gym absolutely erupted in applause. What would you have done in her shoes? Let us know in the comments. And if you love seeing arrogance get a reality check, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Arissa stood up and offered Jason a hand. He slapped it away, scrambling to his feet, his face burning with a mix of shame and disbelief. He had been so completely and efficiently dismantled. There were no excuses. He wasn't tired, and it wasn't a lucky shot. He was simply outclassed by a superior art form that he had openly mocked minutes earlier. Arissa didn't gloat. She didn't drop some witty one-liner. She just looked at him and said, "Respect all styles." Then she turned and walked away, leaving him standing alone in the middle of the mat as applause roared for her. The lesson was delivered. True strength isn't about boasting or belittling others. It's found in quiet confidence, discipline, and knowing there's always more to learn. And this moment, even though it's fictional, perfectly mirrors Arissa LeBrock's real-life journey. The same resilience she showed on this imaginary mat is exactly what she needed to overcome a real-world injury that threatened her WWE dreams. She refused to let setbacks or stereotypes define her. Instead, she put in the work, graduated from a top wrestling academy, and started building a career on her own terms, proving that a legacy isn't something you inherit. It's something you build with your own two hands.